Well, good morning, Algebra 2. Here's the second phase of exponents, just things I think that basic things you should know. And we're looking at exponential equations today. And so here's some examples of something you might see on your practice quiz as well as your quiz. Right, well, when the bases are the same and they set things equal like this, that means that the exponents have to match if they're going to be equal. And so you can take this equation and you can write that 2y plus 2 has to equal negative 10, and that's because these two are the same. So once you do that, you just go ahead and solve that, and you get 2y equals negative 12. Divide by 2, and you get y equals negative 6. And that's the answer to that. You solve for y, and you get negative 6. And if you plug it in, you'll find out that you get negative 10 on both sides. Now this one's a little different because right here, the 3 and the 9, they don't match each other. And so we have to make them match before we could do something like that. Well, I realize that 9 is the same thing as 3 squared. And 3 squared to the 3x would be equal to 3 to the 6x. And so now I have where these two things match. And so now I can write over here on the side, using this being equal to this, I can write that x squared plus 5 has to equal 6x. Well, if it's a quadratic, then you're automatically going to have to put it in standard form. And you're hoping that it will factor. If not, you can use the quadratic. I think that I'll make them so that you factor because I'm not sure how many of you are comfortable with the quadratic yet. This would be x minus 1 and x minus 5 equals 0. So 1 and 5 would be the two answers that would make this side equal to that side for x. Okay, so here's another example. This is 2 and this is 32. Again, these don't match. So I try to find a power of 2 that will give me 32. And the answer to that is, that's 2 to the 5th. And so 2 to the 5th to the 3x would be the same thing as 2 to the 15x. So that would tell me that 15x has to equal x minus 28. And so I'd write 15x equals x minus 28. Subtract x from both sides. We get 14x equals 28. Divide by 14 and we get x equals 2. And so that's what would make those two be equal to each other. You could do the math and you could see that it actually does come out to being correct. Same thing over here if you plug these in. Okay, let's look at number 4 here. Is a little bit different. This x is not the same thing as 1 over, and so we have to flip that to the top, and so I'm going to rewrite this as x to the 2n minus 1 equals, well, if I flip this to the top, it would be x to the negative 5th. So now I can say that 2n minus 1 equals negative 5, and I would add 1 to both sides. 2n equals negative 4, divide both sides by 2, n equals negative 2, and again, I'm done with that one right there. And if you put negative 2 in here, you can see this could be x to the negative 5, which is exactly the same thing as 1 over x to the 5th. Okay, and then I'm going on to this next one. We learned yesterday that when you multiply like bases, the exponents, that these actually add together, and so we get 3n plus 4 equals n squared. And what I did over here is I put that in standard form, and then I factored it, and that would give me 4 and negative 1 as the two answers that would make that side equal to the other. Okay, and then the last one, this one's kind of looks silly, but it's kind of hard at first. But you got to realize that when it's x plus 3 to the 2x equals x plus 3, that the exponent up here is 1. So again, these bases are the same, and so all we have to do is say that 2x has to equal 1. And I should have used a different letter, so let's put a y in here. That 2y equals 1. Divide both sides by 2, and we see that y equals 1/2, which makes sense because 2 times 1/2 is 1, and x plus 3 to the first is equal to x plus 3 to the first. So those are just some examples. Again, it'd be a good idea to write them down and to practice them after you watch this. You know, go back to the beginning and see if you can do them on your own, and then check them with mine. Hope you have a great Tuesday. Thanks for watching.